Columbia police officers are currently investigating 3 confirmed separate shots fired incidents. Good evening, I'm James Packard.
And I'm Khaki Martin. Overnight, Columbia officers were called to 3 separate locations over the course of 3 hours. KOMU 8's James Bender is live on the scene where the 3rd incident happened. James, what do we know so far?
Where I'm standing now is actually the last place that police were dispatched tonight. The 3rd shots were fire call on a busy night. It all started about 12:30 a.m. when police said they found, in quotes, a new bullet hole in the yard of a residence at Garth Avenue and Sexton Road. We cannot actually clarify exactly what the police station meant by this. The 3rd incident of the night happened at about 1400 block of Worley Street. Police said shots were fired near the location as well. Now, the 2nd incident of the night happened at about 1:40 a.m. in the 1900 block of Newton Road. Officers went there for a report of shots fired and found a house had been hit several times. Police say there were no reporters of injuries of the property damage at the first call on Garth Avenue. There were also no injuries at the second scene on Newton Drive. At 2:37 a.m., they were sent to Worley Street, where I am now. Now, all 3 of the incidents are under investigation. However, a 4th call was sent out to CPD and the Boone County Sheriff's Department, where they found out that nothing had happened on the scene. I am James Bender, live in Columbia, KOMU 8 News.
Hi, James. Thank you. A car crashed into a Jefferson City apartment building this morning. Jefferson City police say the driver fell asleep at the wheel while heading north on Ventura Avenue. Quincy Hickman drove the car through the front of one of the units. Police say no one was in the apartment, luckily. There weren't any injuries, but both the car and the apartment obviously were damaged, as you can see here when that happened.
This morning, Boone County and Callaway County residents rallied to save a historic bridge after its surprise closure last week. The 106-year-old bridge runs between county lines on Route 389 and is a crucial access point for nearby residents to access city centers. MoDOT closed the bridge last Friday after finding a critical fracture in its foundation. One 40-year resident who has lived on both sides of the county lines says he hoped the rally would get the attention of the bridge divisions in both counties.
We feel like our tax money is just as good as the guys in the cities. Out here, we pay the same tax base, and so that our tax dollars should be used to fix our road. And so that's my thought on it anyway.
Lindsay says the community has been working to apply for a federal grant which would pay for 80% of the repairs. Residents say their main goal is to have the bridge repaired as soon as possible. A Dallas police officer is recovering today after a shootout last night that left 2 others dead. The officer, who was in plain clothes at the time, was investigating an unrelated property crime when a shooting unfolded in front of him. The officer was shot in the foot but is expected to be okay. The suspect and another man died. A 3rd man involved in the shootings is in stable condition.
During the course of that investigation, an officer observed a shooting in progress. The officer confronted the suspect and was immediately engaged in gunfire. The officer returned fire, striking the suspect and halting the shooter.
And Black Lives Matter protesters took to the streets of El Cajon, California, demanding justice in a recent fatal police shooting. They blocked streets in the San Diego suburb chanting, quote, "No justice, no peace." These protests have been taking place off and on since September 27th, when 38-year-old Alfred Olango was shot and killed by police. Officers say Olango was acting, quote, erratically and had refused to comply with their orders to remove his hands out of the pockets of his pants. There were no reports of violence or arrests at Friday night's protest.
The Chicago Police Department released graphic dash cam video this weekend showing a man allegedly high on PCP punching and body slamming Chicago police officers as they tried to handcuff him. More than 3 hours of footage was released. Trina Orlando has the story.
That's him?
A dash cam captured this video as police approached the suspect walking on the sidewalk.
I ain't playing with you, dude. I'm going to tase you in like 2 seconds.
The suspect resists arrest even as police officers try to place him in handcuffs. Moments later, a scuffle breaks out, the suspect throwing punches before grabbing the female officer's hair and pulling her to the ground. A closer look shows her head bouncing off the ground. Police say so hard she was knocked unconscious. The body camera of another police officer arriving on scene shows as he tries to pull the suspect from the huddle.
He's got to peel his head. He's not letting go. We're tasing him. It's not working.
Officers were eventually able to subdue the suspect, identified as 28-year-old Parta Huff of Maywood. Police say he slammed his car into a liquor store at Roosevelt and Cicero while high on PCP. Superintendent Eddie Johnson says the officer who was attacked at the scene thought she was going to die.
She knew that she should shoot this guy, but she chose not to because she didn't want her family or the department to have to go through the scrutiny the next day.
A thought apparently shared by others back at the scene.
The female officer involved remains hospitalized. Huff is charged with attempted murder of a police officer and aggravated battery to a police officer. Republican presidential nominee Donald Trump suggested today that rival Hillary Clinton was on drugs during the last debate. Trump held a campaign rally in Portsmouth, New Hampshire today where he suggested both candidates should be drug tested before the next debate. During the rally, Trump addressed his plans for drug reform by cracking down on what he calls postal loopholes, making FDA rules less restrictive and increasing sentences for serious offenders. Then he made this suggestion for the next debate.
We should take a drug test prior, because I don't know what's going on with her. But at the beginning of her last debate, she was all pumped up at the beginning. And at the end, it was like, oh, take me down. She could barely reach her car. So I think we should take a drug test. Anyway, I'm willing to do it.
Trump also addressed the continued allegations of sexual abuse by women, calling them lies and phony.
Clinton is mostly staying off the trail to prepare for Wednesday's debate. She is mostly staying off to prepare in nearly every battleground state, and she appeared confident in a fundraiser on Friday.
If we do our job in 25 days, Donald Trump will stop being on the news every single day.
And we have warmer temperatures on the way. Let's send it over to Michael. Michael, do you think we're going to get any relief from this hot weather?
Thank you, Kaki, and good evening, everyone. Kaki, I don't know. We are pretty warm out there today as we take a look at the weather almanac. 82 degrees, 14 degrees above average for this time of year. Usually we like to be in the 60s by this point in October. We are at 82, and you can see temperatures right now across the area beginning to fall back as the sun is getting ready to set. On this Saturday, 75 degrees in Columbia, 77 in Boonville. So we take a look at winds, though. That's the other big story. 15 miles an hour right now out of the south. But take a look at current wind gusts, closer to about 24 miles an hour here in Columbia. And those are going to continue overnight tonight as we take a look at the forecast for this evening. Temperatures are going to get down only to about 69 degrees or so. So a very warm evening ahead, and some chances for rain are possible as well. We'll talk about that, and we can expect some cooler temperatures after the break.
All right, Michael, thank you very much. Halloween is almost here. Some are preparing by carving pumpkins.
See why a local organization is changing one popular fall tradition.